Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, August 2nd of 2026. Now, first of all, I just want to give a very quick thank you to everyone who dropped an email response into my inbox last week after my Sunday message of love last Sunday. It was a beautiful confirmation that I am human and I am not alone in some of the things that I struggle with. So thank you so much for being there and all your not just comments under the video, but also the flood of emails that came into my inbox filled up my heart. So thank you so much. Now this week, something a tiny bit different and fairly quick. I mostly have a lot of questions for you because what dropped in the middle of the week was someone sent me a little video on Instagram saying that from August 1st through August 7th was going to be a worldwide social media fast. And immediately I was aboard. I'm like, oh, that sounds so good because I find myself scrolling even the things that supposedly feed my consciousness, feed the algorithm of the things that bring me positivity. Uh, I never feel good when have been scrolling for an hour, whether that be on Instagram. I don't go on Facebook, even though I have a business um, presence on Facebook, which is lovely. I dip in sometimes to read some of the comments, but I don't ever scroll on Facebook. I spend my time sometimes on Instagram doing reels, and then I spend the majority of my time social media because it still counts on YouTube. And while I watch things that supposedly make me feel better, um, if I just spend an hour laying on the couch because I think I deserve it, I feel tired after a long day, it's been super hot here in Utah. So I just think, I don't have any energy. I should go out for a walk, but I need to wait till it cools down. And instead of doing something either creative or meditative or whatever, or even reading, I will pick up and I will I will scroll on YouTube and I'll just kind of go through the shorts of the people that, make me laugh or lift me up or just whatever. And I do not feel good when I close it. So I was immediately aboard. So what I decided to do is just give you a bunch of questions because I think this is a really difficult thing for a lot of people because I don't just think it's a social media fast. I think it's got to be a fast from input. For me, it's got to be input, like the podcasts, all the stuff that's constantly coming at us. We just need to get quiet enough so that we can remember who we are and why we're here. Okay. So these are I just got a bunch of questions and then I'm going to leave it there. And hopefully, if you haven't heard of this, you decide you want to jump aboard. Today's only the 2nd. And I don't think it matters, but it might take some bravery. I did talk to a few people that were like, in my close family circle, my friendship circle. And it's like, hey, social media fast, August 1st to the 7th. Are you in? And it was like, a couple people were, no, I'm not interested in doing that. And that is totally fine, right? So basically, here's some questions to ask yourself. Or this first one's a statement. The greatest addiction of our time isn't substances. Okay. I don't believe it's alcohol and drugs and food and all the things that we get addicted to. Okay. It's the inability to be alone with our own consciousness. I believe that is our biggest addiction because it's sucking our time. It's stealing our time. It's stealing our life force. So what comes up in me when there is no distraction? Okay. That's a question you need to ask yourself. What comes up inside of you when you don't have something to distract you? Okay. What emotions immediately want to be numbed out? What wisdom has been waiting patiently beneath all the noise? That's a big one. And I talk about that quite a bit, about getting still enough to listen to your higher self and listen to the wisdom that's just waiting for you to get quiet enough for it to talk to you. Okay. So my attention is my life force. Who or what has been spending it for me? So if my attention is my life force, who or what has been spending my life force? We are literally giving away our life force to the algorithms, to the numbing out. That is why, to me, it is such a horrible addiction. I'm caught in it too. I'm guilty of it too, you know? So where has my awareness been leaking? This I ask myself because I do try to make a concerted effort to spend less time and not even to open up an app that might tempt me to scroll. Even if I just think, oh, I'm just going to do this while I'm drinking my tea before I start my day. Because before I know it, an hour is gone or 30 minutes are gone. And do I feel better? No, I don't feel better. I don't feel better even though it might be uplifting stuff or humorous stuff. I just feel like I wasted time and I feel a little bit dead inside. Kind of weird, right? Who benefits when I remain distracted? That one is a very important question. Who benefits? Well, who benefits if you're distracted? Oh, that is such a great question. What would change if I consciously reclaimed my attention every single day? What would change? Okay, humanity isn't suffering from a lack of information, it's suffering from a lack of stillness. So, how much more information do I truly need? Ask yourself that. How much more do you need? How many more podcasts of astrology or this portal or this gate or this, how much more of that do you really need? Like, sometimes that, if the thought of that, it overwhelms me a little bit because it's so true, right? Could silence teach me something that no book, no podcast, or video ever could? And to that, I say a hell yes. Absolutely. If millions of people intentionally choose presence over distraction at the same moment, what kind of magic could be possible? And that's what this is right here. From today's only the second day that I've done this, but I will tell you, yesterday I had a tiny bit of unsettling, and I had to get out. And it's actually really interesting to get out in most of Utah right now because we're in a really big heat wave, and it's uncomfortable to be outside because it's so hot. So it's a very interesting time. What if awakening isn't only personal? What if every act of presence contributes to something larger than myself? Because we know that's true. We know that one person's intention, and then it affects the collective. It's like throwing a stone into a pond and it ripples out. That's how it works. And then when you have millions of people bringing their presence at the same time, which is what I believe is happening right now. And I would love you to jump aboard. If this resonates with you, I would say jump aboard. Okay, I'll report this. I'm going to talk about this next Sunday, where the whole experiment will be over, and I'm actually really, really grateful for it. Okay. What energy do I want to offer to the collective? That's such a good question to ask yourself. You might not realize you're offering something to the collective if you're in a little bit of pain from the withdrawal of not being on social media or the constant input, right? Because it is an addiction. Whether you like to look at it that or not, it is a very uncomfortable addiction. When was the last time I sat in complete silence long enough to hear my deepest truth? Okay. What voice emerges when fear becomes quiet? Because think about what these algorithms feed us, you guys. Fear, 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 fear. Whatever form it comes in. Whatever form it comes in. Oh, even talking about it can make me feel like, right? Is there guidance that has been patiently waiting for my attention? I say, because I've experienced this and I do on a regular basis, yes, there is always guidance waiting from your higher self, from the piece of you that is part of God, from God answering your prayers. If you believe God is a separate entity from you, when you get quiet, God can speak to you. That's how it works. That's how it works. Okay. What if we have millions and millions and billions of people listening to God? The world would look very, very different, right? The algorithm isn't only shaping what I buy, it's shaping who I become. So if you think in those terms, it is a consumer society. We are materialistic, we are consumers. Consume, consume, consume. Okay? It's not just affecting what you buy, it's affecting who you're becoming. And that is a really important thing to have a distinction over. Who am I becoming through my daily habits? And are my thoughts truly my own? That one is super important. Are you just regurgitating because you've heard something so many times over and over and over? Because you're having your worldview confirmed by the things that the algorithm shows you over and over and over? Are you just basically spitting out what you hear? Are the opinions or the conversations you have, are they truly yours? It's really interesting when you get to that place. You become a lot quieter and you become much more of an observer when you're in conversations with other people. It's a really interesting place to be, okay? And really, really beautiful. From my experience, it's very beautiful. So are my thoughts truly my own? And of course, the first thing people would say, it'd be like, well, of course they are. Of course those are my thoughts. But are they really? Are they really? Okay. What would I choose if no one were trying to capture my attention? Okay, so it's right there. Sometimes I mistake constant stimulation for being fully alive. Is that really fully being alive? Do you feel like energized after you've just watched something really good, something really funny? Oh, what? That is like a fake being alive. That is not really being alive, people. Think about that. And I'm not saying don't ever laugh at a funny cat video or the funny reel your sister sent you or whatever. I'm not saying that. But you have to really think about what it is that you're doing and where are you really alive because you're just consuming, getting input rather than experiencing, okay? Sometimes I mistake constant stimulation for being fully alive. Can I experience wonder without needing to document it? Okay, I've talked about this before many, many times. Can I enjoy beauty without sharing it? Okay, this is all part of the social media fast, you know? Can a sacred moment remain sacred even if no one else sees it? Okay, and again, this is something I've talked about many times. If my phone disappeared tomorrow, how much of my identity would disappear with it? This is something that when this question dropped in, what I found fascinating is how many people I've talked to who literally get anxiety when they think about leaving their house without their phone. And so the goal is to practice doing that. Give yourself moments. It's like weaning yourself off of an addictive substance. It's literally like that. Okay? Then of course this. Who am I without followers, without likes, without validation, without performance? You have to think about what goes on in social media. It's mostly performative. I hate to say it. It's mostly performative. And that's not real. That's just not real. You know real because you can go experience you because you know, right? So after all of that, what remains? What remains after all of that? Because this ego, this identity that helps us walk through this physical world and this lifetime and this avatar and all the responsibilities and all the things we have to do, most of us couldn't handle the stomping of our ego. And I think it just happens for many people who are on a consciousness journey. And from my experience, it happens when you get older and you just have these realizations. You're not trying to impress anybody. You're not trying to, I went through many years of posting pictures of food that I had prepared or a yummy meal I was eating. I would arrange it just right on the table and put the glass of wine right there. And, there was flowers behind it. And that was, or I was in a fancy restaurant and there was a very fancy meal placed in front of me. And, oh, I was with my sisters. And, I actually opted out of posting personal things in 2020. And it was one of the most beautiful things I ever did because my life became much more authentic just from that. And that was beautiful. So maybe my next breakthrough isn't waiting in another video for me to watch or another teacher or another book or another podcast. Maybe my next breakthrough isn't waiting there, okay? But it's waiting for many of us in the silence that we've been avoiding, okay? That's where your next breakthrough is. It's in the silence, in the stillness that you've been avoiding. That is painful, uncomfortable until it's not. And the only way to get to the it's not place is to actually do it, right? And it doesn't have to be cold turkey, just like any addiction, but moments, times, you know. If you go on a walk every day and you take your podcast with you, it's super rare when I'm out on my walk. And for the last, I've been skipping days here and there because it's so damn hot here. But every time I go on my walk, passing by someone, and this is a very, very, very popular path that I walk on. It's a walking path. It goes for miles and miles and miles up and down the whole Salt Lake Valley. It's called the Jordan River Parkway. It's beautiful. Um, it's very, very rare that I don't pass somebody who doesn't have something in their ears. So your next breakthrough isn't waiting in a video, another teacher, another book, another podcast, but in the silence that you've been avoiding. And I've really reached a point where I love to leave my phone at home. And I know the thing right now for a lot of people is, well, doesn't that feel, what if there's an emergency, or what if you need someone to come and get you, and that's great. That's convenience. But I'm very close to home, and there's enough people that if something dramatic happened, another human being would probably help me, right? What if the answers I seek already exist within me? And am I willing to trust the possibility? Okay. So that kind of lends itself into the possibility. Well, what if? We always like to look at the worst case scenario. In fact, that's how I think they're getting us right now, is for our safety, our certainty, our security. We're just going to put all these cameras everywhere, but it's for your safety and it's for security. Sorry, I way call BS on that, and I don't want that. I don't think most humans want that. It's an interesting time to be here with all of that stuff. So then this is kind of the final part. I believe that consciousness is contagious. I do believe that. I believe that that's why this whole thing has been kind of catching fire around the globe, this 7-day social media fast, because consciousness is contagious. Think about when someone is super negative. We can feel it. You can feel it. If there's a person who's in your office who's super grumpy, they come in, they're never happy, they're crabby. You might not understand what's happening unless you know that consciousness is a real thing and there's energies and frequencies, but that's a real thing, okay? So I believe that consciousness is contagious, and I need to think about this. What frequency am I contributing to the world, okay? When people leave my presence, do they feel more hopeful, more peaceful, more free, and more deeply loved? This is something that I spent this week really working on, especially after my, my little emotional, my little mishap last week, where I was not being careful. It is really interesting when you bring a different perspective forward and you're very intentional about it. It actually is really beautiful. And then this last question, what frequency do I want to embody? Not just this week, but every day that I am blessed to be here. None of us knows when it's our time to go. That has been said a million times. And it's true. We don't know. There's been times, even this past week, interestingly, I had a moment drop in where it's like, oh, sometimes ignorance is bliss. I just want to go back to sleep in the matrix. I don't want to know it's a matrix. I want to take the other pill, the blue pill, I guess. And I don't want to know that I'm not enjoying a great steak. I just want to enjoy the steak in ignorant bliss. I don't know if you can relate to that at all. But sometimes this planet and all of the changes it's going through, and all of humanity trying to figure it out on their own different timelines, it feels crazy, right? You know, we have other people's feelings to protect, and we have our own heart to protect, and whew, it's a wild time to be here, guys. And I really believe that opting out of the input, you can just do social media if this resonates with you, and then move it as you get better at it, and as the addiction lessens and lessens, move it to actually full days or full times without your phone or your technology near you, where you can check in every few seconds. You don't need to know exactly what time it is. You don't need to know exactly what the weather is hour by hour. You know, go outside. Here it's damn hot. We have had 100-degree days, over 100-degree days for the last few weeks. And we are, because I look at my weather app, I know we still have a couple more weeks of it coming. So experience it. You don't have to have an app that tells you. Um, Try it. I think it's very empowering, especially in the day and age that we live in. So I'd love to know what you think about this. Maybe you might not pick this video up until later, because you're doing a social media fast that includes YouTube as well. So I would love that. I am going to post this, and if I don't answer you, if you make a beautiful comment, which I always read and respond to all the comments, if I don't get back to you this week, it's because I'm including social media in YouTube as part of my social media fast. So I would love to know if after you watch this, you hadn't heard of it, if you're in, and then I'll respond to you when I pick this up in a week. So thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. I really love this community. I think it's a beautiful, like-minded, very, very authentic place to be. And I am grateful that we're here together. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.